am I upset?
Who might be the most nervous person in the Superdome right now. Roy to snap, Bramlett to hold, to send it to free football. Snap, spot, blocked! Yeah! It's no good! Yeah! It's blocked! Shaheed Brown got his mitt on it! Fire up the war chant and plant the spear! Nose win! Nose win! Mike Norvell, you have your signature win! Early on in non-conference play, Shaheed Brown, the hero, the second block kick of the night. Florida State is going to hang on and survive. The final score, Florida State 24, LSU 23. Unconquered and 2-0. You're not going to keep Noles fans off of Bourbon Street tonight, baby.
I don't think they probably went to Bourbon Street all night long, and they're probably still down there. So, welcome to the Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. What an exciting weekend of college football. Sunday night, if you can't imagine what happened with Florida State, giving up that touchdown to LSU, and all of a sudden some miracle happened that they blocked the extra point. So let's bring in Jeff Cohen. Cohen. What's his name again?
Cohen.
Go ahead. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Chris, you're fired.
I know I'm fired. I'm gone. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Hey, guys, I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
Doing great. So, are you still on the upper high of the that call?
It's been a pretty wild few days, that's for sure. I mean, what a moment at the end, and what a crazy football game, and obviously, great to see Florida State come out on top, and a moment that Seminole fans won't soon forget. I can tell you that.
Yeah. What was the feeling like being there watching it live? I saw it here in Maryland, and I was like, all right, we're probably going to be going overtime probably here, and all of a sudden I said to my girlfriend, like, she goes, well, you might need a block extra point. I'm like, well, that could happen. I've seen stranger things along the way, and there we go.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just, it felt like Florida State had really played well for the majority of the night and was the better football team. College football's crazy. You got to close things out. And it just turned out to where LSU was able to grab a crazy turnover, take it the length of the field, and you still had a bizarre, call with 1 second left, still trying to understand the clarity of that call, to be quite honest with you. And, I think, look, anytime you got young players, 18 to 22, 23 years old, and you have a redshirt freshman walk-on kicker when he entered, when he arrived on campus in Baton Rouge a year ago, for me, you're prepared for the weirdness to come. And I think we just kind of settled into a moment where anything could happen, and it definitely did.
Hey, George, go right ahead.
So, Jeff, I gotta say, you know what they say about karma, and it was wearing the gold and crimson on Sunday night. So, I think everybody from this part of the country, northwest Indiana, I think everybody for a moment was cheering for the Noles. The one part that I found interesting, now that we'll never mention the other coach's name, was Dylan Gibbons. No, Dylan Gibbons, he's a great guy. He was great up here for Notre Dame on that offensive line. And it had to feel good for him beating his old coach, not the way he left, because he had left before Kelly had left. But it must have been just good for him, because it's seeming more and more there's not a lot of love lost between some players and Coach Kelly.
Well, I got corrected in the first part. Garnet and gold, my man, not crimson.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, that's like Chris calling me Jeff Cocaine when he introduced me a second ago. So,
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I won't speak for Dylan, but I will tell you, you're 100% correct. Dylan Gibbons is an amazing person. He's an amazing individual, and I don't care about age. That's just a number to me. Dylan Gibbons is going to be successful in everything that he does in life because he's got a great family. I've met his father.
Yep.
His brother as well is an amazing person. I've seen him at practice in Tallahassee. And Dylan Gibbons is going to play in the NFL however long he wants to. And then from there, he already has his own foundation. He's helping people in need. He was at our coaches show a couple of weeks back and told me that the food that was presented to him for dinner for his appearance, he gave some of it to a homeless person on his walk home.
Wow.
So, just amazing, and he is truly a special person. I'm happy for him to see him have his success here early in the season.
Well, Adam, you got a question for Jeff real quick?
Yeah, Jeff, I stood awake, until that last. That had, with this win now, do you think, this will help Florida State, get back to where a lot of fans want them to be?
Yeah, Coach, I tell you, it's the first step, right? In talking with Coach Norvell after the game, and then Monday night during his coaches show, it was a situation where he was, he was obviously very happy for his team. I think it's further validation into, the success that and the culture that he has put in place here at Florida State University. And so, yeah, it's been I think a good go and a good start for this season and everything that Coach Norvell has talked about. So fans are fired up, and it's a fan base that's been looking for a win like this, guys, for quite some time.
That's true. Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on tonight. I know you're a busy guy. That's Jeff Cohen, who is a good friend of ours who did a great job in North Dakota, because I know you from North Dakota State, and now enjoy yourself down in Tallahassee and enjoy your weekend and off. You don't have any games this weekend. You have a bye week. So I guess what are you going to do? Are you going to go fishing? Are you going to relax, or what's the deal?
Nothing.
Yeah. That
Thanks,
works.
guys.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
I see you.
Jeff.
Bye. Yeah, I got a little tongue-tied here in the beginning there. It happens, I know this guy really well. Let's bring in Coach Jim Fleming, who can't be tongue-tied with this guy. I know this guy for a very, very long time. Hey, you're sporting the beard there, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to talk to you. I love talking to you beginning of the football season. So you guys had a great win in Stony Brook this past last Thursday. So how was that big win for you guys going to Long Island?
It was good. It's the first time we were able to get good play down on Long Island. We've gone down there a number of times and haven't played extremely well. But it was, the kids were prepared. They were excited to play, overcome some, early game shenanigans, in terms of the sack, fumble, score, and then a poor kickoff return right after that. But, they settled in. I thought they played a good, solid game. And I think, all three phases had a contribution. But, we walked out with a dub and had a nice ride home. And it seems like an eternity since we played. So we've been practicing, getting ready, and looking forward to next week versus Bryant.
Yeah, you guys play against Bryant this coming weekend. So got to go on the road again. So another road trip to Bryant. So, you never played them before. So how do you prepare for a team that you haven't played?
Well, we opened up with them last year, if you remember. We had a fortune. We came out and played pretty well in our opening game at home. That was the first time we played Bryant. We've got a 10. I think we've got a yearly series with them. We're just going to go for eternity. So we got a good picture of them last weekend. They went down. They gave FIU everything they wanted. In fact, probably had arguably a better game, but just didn't come out with a score for the win. They had 2 red area turnovers. They had a kickoff return that went. The guy was wide open, just fell down. So, there was a lot of things that they did to outplay an FBS opponent. So we're aware of them. We know what they have. They've got a nice product building up there in North Smithfield. And we got to get up there 6 o'clock on Saturday night and take care of business. But it's no easy task. They're a very good and dangerous football team. They didn't lose at home one time last year. So we know what we're dealing with, and we'll be prepared.
George, go ahead.
So, Coach, I got to ask first, how is everybody there with all the water that's decided to land on that very small state of Rhode Island?
It is the biggest little state in the world, but it was up the road. We were pretty relatively dry. Compared to what happened up in Providence, but it was a complete overload of the infrastructure, I guess. The I-95 was closed, which is the main thoroughfare on the East Coast, and people coming home for Labor Day weekend. I'm glad I wasn't on the road and firmly here in the office getting ready for this game. But It was significant. It was, I think, 9 inches of rain, someone said. So it was an interesting weather event, which we have plenty of those kinds of things up this way.
Yeah. I used to spend a lot of time in my summers over at Burlingame State Park, so I definitely understand that I-95 corridor and how that's a hub. So with your team, what was one of the big surprises for you this weekend?
I wouldn't say there were really any huge surprises. I think we kind of got what we expected. We knew what we were. I was concerned about Tyson Lawton. He's a really good running back in this league, and we were obviously focused on stopping the run. But there weren't a whole bunch of surprises. We do have a new team like everybody has at the beginning of the season, and there was the only question that was really remaining to be seen is in terms of how they would react together under live bullets, and how they would handle the inevitable adversity that's going to come up in a football game. And I thought we did a really good job of that. I think we came out, the big play they had early and momentum swing, all that. We just kept in it and kept working. Got it tied up. A couple of really big plays by Jordan Jones. Cut another couple of picks, 1 pick six, and we go in 14-14 and a half, and then we came out and went about our business. And I thought did a nice job in all 3 phases.
Yeah, there's the interception from Jordan, Thursday night, wide open. Wide open.
Pulling that right up, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, I've been working on getting all these cool videos, and I'm like, oh, let me do some editing. That must have been one of those things. You were saying, that pick six really got you guys rolling because like that was back and forth. Like you said in the first half, and then in the second half, you guys just took over.
Yeah, the pick six, came at an opportune time, early, in the first half, and it was one that we know we've given up a score, to them on defensive turnover. And, as we talk to our defense always, if that other team gets one, we got to get one back for ours. And so we were able to even that up. And then we had 3 interceptions on the night, and played pretty solid. Had a couple of nice punt return by Ed Lee. So I mean, all 3 phases contributed, but we got plenty to work on, plenty to get better at, and we got a daunting task ahead of us. We got a bear of a schedule. We got Bryant, and we got Delaware coming in here, then we go to Pitt, and that's about as far as I can look right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. First of all, I'll send you some sunshine from the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. I have some good friends of mine who live in Rhode Island, and they told me 11 inches in Cranston. So so I'll send you an arc. But tell us what it's like to play an in-state opponent like Bryant on Saturday night in Smithfield.
I think it's great. It's great for our state. I think it's the state of Rhode Island has had different reviews in terms of the level of football in the state. We've got 3 football playing Division I schools. In terms of Brown, us, and Bryant. So we have a built-in state championship. We've got a really good D3 program at Salve Regina. So I mean, we've got an interesting lineup. When you can play each other, Brown, Bryant, and URI every year. Technically you've got a possibility of a state championship, which we kind of anointed, as one of our goals to be able to achieve each and every year. I think Chris Merritt's got a really nice program going on up there. I think he's built it. I think they're investing in it quite well, and they're a very, very good football team. I'm very concerned. They want to make sure we got a hit on all cylinders, and we're looking forward to being up there and testing ourselves versus a very good team. And if we're able to get that 2 in a row on the road, I'd be very pleased, and just keep on notching them off one at a time. But we got our hands full without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, Coach Fleming, I got a question to ask you about the new CAA. We got 2 new teams this year. Next year, you got another one coming in. And, what's it like, with this new league with no James Madison anymore? It's just they went up there to do their own thing. It's pretty much wide open again.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think you look around the league and you saw the scores, and you saw, there was some very good performances by teams in our leagues with out of league opponents. And, I thought we were kind of slighted in terms of respect for the CAA last year with the playoff selections. We only had 2 teams in, which, we were the odd man out in that situation. Usually we're between, 3 and 5 teams that make it into the postseason. I thought there was a dwindling respect for the CAA, but, I think that we kind of flexed our muscles this past weekend. You look at William & Mary going down and beating up Charlotte. You look at Delaware being able to take down Navy. Villanova went to a non-league and did a good job of handling business. So, I mean, we've got a very competitive conference. Joe D'Antonio, our commissioner, has grown it. I don't know very well the teams that have just come in, but I do know Monmouth very well, and that's a very quality opponent to add in here. And we've got a very strong conference. And bottom line, if you can get through this conference with your skin intact right now, you're probably a pretty good football team and have an opportunity to compete nationally.
That's true. Well, Coach Fleming, thanks so much for coming on tonight, and enjoy your weekend against Bryant. And I hope to talk to you a little more during the season. And I love the beard. I love it.
Well, my wife doesn't like it, but we're just going to keep with it right now. Things are
hey, it's winning. It's a winning beard until good things happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Coach.
All right, man. It's good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
See you later.
Thanks, Coach.
Football. Appreciate it.
See you. All right, that's Coach Jim Fleming with his low line airplane.
Hey, they needed an airplane after this weekend.
Yeah. I will say that I have flown into TF Green Airport in Providence, and hopefully it's called. I don't want to land there now.
Yeah.
I think anyone want to send up a canoe to?
Yeah, everybody's getting a lot of
Rhode
rain
Island.
these days. Yeah.
Send them a cruise ship.
Yeah,
Cruise ship. Oh, there you go, George. A cruise ship. There we go.
Chris, I miss my Newport, Rhode Island weekends.
Yeah.
I gotta say, when I lived in Connecticut, a great little getaway was to go up to get a B&B in Newport and just hang out in Brick Alley.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's 7:18, and if you folks just logged in, thanks for joining us here on the Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. I will not be butchering any more names because I'll be on probation for the rest of the evening. Yeah, and I might be going down to Norfolk and be dashing out to, well, wait a minute, minor league baseball's done. I'll be let go. And then, see you later. It's coming up in a few minutes here on the program. We will have Dave Cohen, our good friend from Georgia State. They'll be taking on North Carolina this weekend down there in Atlanta, and that's going to be a good game after what happened last week with North Carolina going to slugfest against Appalachian State last Saturday.
Appalachian, Chris. Appalachian.
I said Appalachian.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Anyway,
Okay.
so and then the coach of Western Carolina, Coach Bell, will be joining us. Kerwin Bell will be joining us. He used to be a Florida Gator. He's on the top 100 Florida Gator players of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was working with Spurs for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about last night. And you probably saw this game last night. I don't think a lot of people tuned into this game last night between Georgia Tech and Clemson, but Clemson won 41-10. Yeah, it was not really a sexy game to watch on Labor Day. I think they need to. I know the ACC was trying to promote, ACC football, but to me, it's like, maybe next year should have been Clemson and Florida State in the kickoff classic. Yeah.
Nah, I know that would have been a great game to have Florida State and LSU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do have a highlight from that game. I did some editing. Let me put it on here real quick before we will bring in Dave. So here it is. Here's the quick highlight with the call with Joe Chestercore from ESPN at the last minute block field goal. Then you hear a guy from, who used to be in South Bend. Look like it. Yeah, we'll play it. Here it is.
To send us to overtime. It's blocked! It is blocked! It is blocked!
Despite all of those things, I stand here in front of you with an opportunity to bring the game into an overtime situation. So what we did well is we battled. I'm proud of the way we battled. What obviously we need to do better is play with a sense of urgency for 4 quarters, which we did not. What we learned is we've got to coach better. I mean, we've got to have our kids coached in a manner where they're ready, and I'm accountable for that. And we have to have them tackling better, executing better in all phases.
All right, well, what a finish. What a finish. We talked to our team all week that, this game could come down to one play, to one opportunity. And, as you watch throughout the course of the game, I thought our guys put on display an incredible heart. The passion which they played with, just the effort, the physicality. I thought we dominated the game for the majority of it. Obviously there at the end, you had some things that happened that we just can't have.
Yeah, so Brian, before we bring in Dave, I think Brian Kelly looked like a deer in the headlights. He was like, "Oh my God, I lost! Oh
Chris,
my God!"
I've heard those words so many times.
Yeah, that's the same song and dance, just in a different uniform.
It's just a different color.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm officially. I just wish I'm going to say it officially. I have no more words for the man. So after that game the other night, there are no words.
I would like to see, before we bring Dave in, I want to see the ratings and see how many people in South Bend tuned into that. So let's bring in Dave, because Dave knows all about ratings, and he had a ratings excitement. I'm going to say Saturday night against South Carolina, but he got one coming up this weekend against North Carolina. That's a good ratings booster. Dave?
I'm here. I'm hoping so. We played well enough at South Carolina there at one point that when we went up 14-12, I felt pretty good that we were hanging with South Carolina on a Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. It wasn't a complete sellout, but it was a great crowd, great weather for college football. I mean, all in all, it was just a really, really good night. And, the fact that, we had a couple of punts blocked that turned out to be the difference in the football game. Our quarterback did not have a great night. But our defense really kept us in a position to win that ball game. They held South Carolina to 79 yards running the football. Spencer Rattler, who transferred from Oklahoma, a lot of hype on him. That's a guy whose name was being thrown around for the Heisman Trophy, a season or two ago. And, he is a pretty good quarterback, even when you look at his numbers from Oklahoma. But, they didn't really tear us up defensively. As a matter of fact, our defensive player of the game, Quavian White, intercepted him twice, 2 tackles for loss, sacked him once, had a pass breakup, and had 5 tackles. So defensively, we were right there. And at one point in the third quarter, before the 2 blocked punts took the wind out of our sails and the air out of our tires, Georgia State led South Carolina in Columbia 14-12.
That's true.
And now we got to come back, and this will be the first Power 5 program that we've hosted in Atlanta at Center Parc Stadium, the old Turner Field that we've converted into our football stadium, and it's a really it holds about 25,000. I think we've done a fantastic job with it, converting it. It'll always be a work in progress, but I'm expecting there to be a good crowd. North Carolina's 2-0. They can score bunches of points, and they give up points. I don't want to say in bunches, but hell, even Florida A&M without 20 guys on that roster managed to score 24 points against them in Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
And Appalachian State scored 61 and lost, and really should have won the ball game, in my opinion, if you watched it down the stretch in the fourth quarter. But that's why they play the game.
Exactly. George, go ahead.
So when you look at the stats, I'm looking at the stats comparison between the Tar Heels and Georgia State here. Carolina is not a very disciplined team. They got a boatload of penalties. I'm looking at 175 yards in penalties to your 75. So, there's something to be said about discipline. I know that I talked about it this weekend with Notre Dame, in my Notre Dame community when I wrote, is that disciplined teams win games. And, when you look at it from the perspective of penalty yards, they seem to have no problem giving up some penalty yards to a team either.
Yeah, for us, as I said on the radio on our broadcast at least twice, to my color commentator who was miffed at a call or two, to say the least, I said, look, that's a Sunbelt school going on the road in the SEC, again, on a Saturday night in Columbia, South Carolina. It's why you can't have 2 punts blocked. If you're going to win the game, you have to play an almost perfect game. Penalties and mistakes like that, and you're going to leave and head back to Atlanta with a loss, and that's ultimately what happened. But the thing with us is that, I don't take losses home with me as much as I used to, but we're 3 blocked punts away from beating Auburn last year, because if you remember, Georgia State led Auburn for almost the entire ball game at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and it was a blocked punt that they recovered for a touchdown that was the complete momentum changer in that ball game. And again, I know we were only up 14-12, but we were playing good. The penalties weren't, we had some penalties, but they weren't really the kind of penalties that were hurting us to the extent that we were losing the game. We were winning the game, and our defense was playing really, really well. I mean, they were not running the ball against us. Rattler, I don't have his numbers right in front of me, but, he wasn't tearing us up. And, so two block punts, recovered for touchdowns. One of them they converted 2-point conversion. They scored 15 points off of 2 special teams mistakes that we committed. And, with North Carolina, and we played them last year up there, in many instances, these are called guarantee games, as our game at South Carolina was and our game at Auburn was last year, and you see it this time of the year. Sunbelt School, Conference USA School, Mountain West School goes on the road, plays Power 5, game over. Somebody picks up a check for $1 million point whatever and heads back home and gets ready for the next game. For us, and that was the case on Saturday night at South Carolina, that's a guarantee game. We played at North Carolina last year. This is the return game from this home-and-home series that they agreed to come to Atlanta. The reason why, in my opinion, you're able to get teams to agree to come to Atlanta is because everybody recruits the metro Atlanta area and the state of Georgia.
Yep.
This is a great opportunity for North Carolina. And look, let's be honest. They beat us a year ago in Chapel Hill 59-17. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, and some of those North Carolina players, including the starting quarterback, have moved on. My point is they see this as a win, and they see it as an opportunity to bring their product into the middle of downtown Atlanta and showcase North Carolina Tar Heel football. This is as much a game as it is a recruiting visit for the UNC Tar Heels. Let's be honest about that. For us, it's great because it gives us a little street cred. We've got a Power 5 coming in to play us in a 25,000-seat stadium in the middle of downtown Atlanta.
That's awesome. And also it used to be Turner Field, and it has that all of the Braves used to be there. So it's like one of those like, hey, it might. And the funny thing is you guys should have the excitement of the vibes what the Braves used to do, because I know when my Mets were in town, they couldn't win at Turner Field. So, I'm thinking like it should be like, hey, bring some of that mojo to that stadium so all the away teams can win at your stadium. That'd be cool.
Don't forget, this is the third life for that building. It was the Olympic Stadium in the summer of 1996.
Yes, it was.
They converted it to Turner Field, and the Braves played there. And then the Braves moved up I-75 to what is known now as Truist Park, and Georgia State is the third tenant and has, converted it to a football stadium. If any of your viewers haven't seen it, it's really kind of cool to see what we've done with the facility in converting it from a Major League Baseball stadium into a college football stadium.
Looks pretty cool. It looks cool looking.
Yeah,
I saw some pictures of it. I was like, wow, you couldn't even tell it's a baseball stadium. You can't even tell. It's like, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, those of us that have been in it had been in it many times know, and I was in it. I was not at the Olympic opening night ceremonies. I was there a night or two before for the practice run through for the opening ceremonies.
Oh, wow.
So I was there for that. And then, of course, like many other people, was there for many baseball games over the years that the Braves, played in that building. So it is kind of cool to see it in all three lives that it has spanned. And now the fact that Georgia State owns it makes it even cooler.
Yeah. George, go ahead. George. Adam, go ahead. You're the Braves guy.
First of all, how cool is it to have this game, between North Carolina and Georgia State on national television? ESPNU is coming down to Atlanta to have this game, featuring North Carolina and Georgia State. I know it's got to be cool for the university to have a game like this being nationally televised.
No question, and I think you're seeing some changes, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this in the college football landscape. Go back to last week. Virginia Tech played on the road on national television at one of our new Sun Belt Conference members' stadium, Old Dominion. And we know what happened in that game. Old Dominion beat them 20-17. So the Sun Belt, and I was at Sunbelt Media Day in New Orleans back in late July, and you know how it is on the landscape of college football. Half the talk nowadays is with regards to television and what games are being shown where. Are you on national television? Are you on ESPN Plus? Are you on the SEC Network? Are you on SEC Plus? Nobody ever talks about radio. It's always about television, and that seems to be the driving force. So you're right. The Sun Belt has a contract with ESPN, but it's a limited number of games that are on your over-the-air cable. Most of them are ESPN Plus broadcasts, which there's nothing wrong for that. It's appointment television. No one's going to be sitting in their living room scrolling through the TV with their clicker and run across it. You've got to know that it's on ESPN Plus. But come Saturday at 12 noon Eastern time, folks will come across Georgia State and North Carolina. So for us to be hosting an ACC school for the first time or a Power 5 for the first time, and it does give us a little bit of street cred, but it shows you the changing world that we live in, that number one North Carolina, and in that case Virginia Tech, would even consider playing on the road in a Sun Belt Conference stadium. And listen, kudos to Mack Brown in North Carolina. He's gone on the road back-to-back weekends in the Sun Belt Conference in Boone and now Atlanta. And it's hard to find, in the past, it's been hard to find a school or schools and head coaches that are willing to do that. So kudos to Mack Brown in North Carolina for having the guts to do it and go on the road. They won a great, exciting game at Appalachian State on Saturday. Hopefully Georgia State can play well and send them back to Chapel Hill with a W this coming Saturday.
Yeah, if they win, it'll be 3-0. They'll be 3-0. Make them 2-1. That'll make it look a little better in the ACC. Yeah.
Well, it'd be great for us. I mean, we've only beaten a Power 5 one time. That was we beat Tennessee in Knoxville, game 1 of the 2019 season. That game, to be honest with you, still resonates. People still talk about the Georgia State win at Tennessee in 2019. People thought Tennessee wasn't that good that year. They ended up winning 8 games and playing in a bowl game. I think they beat Indiana in one of those bowl games down in Florida. Now, was that a great Tennessee team in hindsight? No, but it was still Georgia State in 2019 going on the road to Neyland Stadium and playing a great game to beat Tennessee on their home field.
That's true. Well, Dave, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I know you're a busy guy, so you can watch that game on ESPNU, or you could go and find Dave on the XM satellite radio and listen to the Georgia State broadcast, and give him some love on Saturday afternoon at 12 noon when this is the biggest game in Georgia State history at this ballpark.
Well, it won't be on Sirius XM. I really wish and have pushed for the Sun Belt Conference to try to get a Sirius XM channel to where they could broadcast X number of games on Saturday. But if any of your viewers or listeners who are not in the Atlanta area want to tune us in, our flagship radio station, of course, is on the TuneIn Radio app. And all you have to do is search WRAS on the TuneIn Radio app, and we'll be there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I found some of it you gave me here. Let me bring it up for people to tune into it. You actually can go online, or if you're in the area, you can go to these radio stations to listen to, or you can go on the Low Country Radio online. You can pick up Dave. So that's pretty cool.
LowCountryRadio.com out of Savannah, Georgia carries our games. That radio station in Gainesville is on TuneIn Radio if they have the TuneIn Radio app, and our 88.5, which is a nice 50,000 watt FM here in town that covers the entire landscape in Atlanta and way out the surrounding areas. They're on TuneIn Radio app as well. So
that's cool.
Yeah. A lot of people like to turn down the announcers on television and listen to the local radio guys while they watch it. I will do that sometimes too, because those guys, I guess myself included, I'm at practice 3 days a week. I'm there talking to players. We do a daily Georgia State football practice update that runs on our Gainesville affiliate. So I'm there talking to players 3 days a week, talking to coaches. And, the TV guys, I understand their job. They blow into a city. They get an opportunity to meet and talk with the head coach and maybe a player.
Right.
But the next week they're on to another game and they're doing the same thing. The local radio guys who cover their teams and who are broadcasting the teams, they know better than anybody what's going on with that particular football team.
It's the personal touch.
Exactly.
No question. No question.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time. A lot of people, as you raised your hand earlier, they like to turn the sound down and listen to the guys who know what they're talking about week in and week out, but still be able to see the game. So
yeah, it's funny when you turn down the volume on TV. My dad turned it down one time, and it's like the radio broadcaster go, "It's a high fly, deep right field." And my dad goes, "That's a fly ball in the right field." How's that a deep fly ball? I was like, "Dad, you have to make it sound you got to get people's attention." You know,
right. Well, you got to paint. You got to create that image. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make it
gotta
sound
be an
like
artist.
Yeah, you got to make it sound like it's like a deep fly ball, but it's really a fly ball. But you got to make it sound like they want their attention to the radio. Go, oh, this might go out. Oh, no, it's not.
Well, about 2 years ago for basketball, and I've done basketball. This will be my 40th year, and most of it has been on the radio. But the last 2 years for home games, I'm on ESPN Plus, and our radio station just simulcasts the audio. And I have to tell you that it is a little bit of a challenge. I have to constantly remind myself that everybody watching can see where the ball is. They know what the score is. They know how much time's left. But I also, at the same time, know I've got a radio audience that knows none of that. So I have to try to find a real balance down the middle of not saying too much, yet not saying too little, so that the radio listeners at least have some idea of what's going on.
Exactly. I agree.
It's
well,
good
Dave,
stuff.
enjoy your weekend, okay? And have a great time and enjoy and go Georgia State and knock off North Carolina.
That would be great. I would love that.
All right, man. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Dave.
All right. Appreciate it. Always enjoy it coming on with you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, man.
All right.
Dave.
See you.
Yep. Dave is such a nice guy. I have a great time having him on. I called him Sunday to make sure he got the link. And him and I were on the phone for 45 minutes talking about football on Saturday, just recapping everything. I was like, yeah, this is good. Better than my dad goes, you on the phone? I'm like, yeah, I'm on the phone. What's up? Yeah. So we're waiting for Coach Bell to join us. I guess he got off the practice field or waiting for him, but we'll try to join. If not, we'll get him another time down the road. It's not a big deal. I know he's getting ready for a game against Georgia Tech, who just played last night, to Clemson. So let's bring in some other stuff going on here. And folks, if you are listening to us right now or watching us on YouTube, go to that little watermark in the bottom right-hand corner and subscribe to our station. We love having you guys be part of our show. We're here every Wednesday night. Next week, we're going to have Bob Newton on, George, because it's Oklahoma and Nebraska next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We got the Nebraska side. I'm looking for a Oklahoma guy, because I think it would be great to talk about, having an old Oklahoma guy talk about the rivalry. Yeah, that was the rivalry back in the old days in the Big Eight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number one and number two. Back in the day, you want a classic rivalry, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Oh, that's a good one.
And it used to be Oklahoma, Nebraska. It used to be that game on Thanksgiving, along with Ohio State and Michigan.
Yes.
Or not Thanksgiving, the day before, after Thanksgiving. It's like that Friday. It was a Friday game. It was always that Friday game, Nebraska, Oklahoma, no matter what year it was. Yeah, but now it's like both teams, or one team's going to a new conference, the other one's trying to fire their coach.
No, the coach is trying to fire himself.
Yes, he's trying to fire himself. I swear, last week, Adam, I was watching, and I was at my niece's birthday party, and I was checking the score, and North Dakota State was tied with Nebraska, 17-all in the late third quarter. I'm thinking to myself, if he loses to North Dakota State, I might be lucky here. And secondly, this guy might be on unemployment.
Actually, Chris, it was the University of North Dakota.
Oh yeah, North Dakota.
I have a because I have a friend who works who's a meteorologist at a local TV station in Omaha, and
Omaha.
And she's a North Dakota alum, so she and her boyfriend and family went to the game, and of course, she wore a North Dakota shirt.
Nice.
Since that's her alma mater. So
yeah.
So first time ever being there in Lincoln for a game.
That's cool.
But from everything I saw, she had a blast.
That's awesome. Let's bring in. Let's talk about last week's Notre Dame Ohio State game last Saturday night.
Omaha.
Omaha. George, a tough loss for the Irish. You listened to the press conference yesterday with Coach Freeman. What did he say yesterday that might bring out for getting ready this game against Marshall?
His comments from yesterday were actually quite interesting. I sent you the video clip of his post-game press conference.
Okay.
But he did a little more looking, talking about some of the plays. There was some discussion about the two-man blitz there at the end, and there was discussion about that was a planned play. Personally, I think it was a bad spot for the two-man blitz, the two safety blitz, from keeping everything in front of you and then having to pay the price for it. He keeps just reiterating that, one, there's no moral victories, and that, two, that Buckner did a great job. That Tyler Buckner did a great job.
Right.
The kid had horrible field position. I think there was 6 possessions that Notre Dame had that were inside the 15-yard line, or at least inside the 20.
Mm-hmm.
That's a boatload of work for any quarterback.
So let's play the interview real quick before we bring in Mike, the voice of the Red Wolves of Arkansas State, taking on Ohio State in their second game of the year. So here is Coach Freeman from Notre Dame talking after the game.
All right. Again, as I was saying earlier, just not the result that we came here for. And there's no such thing as a moral victory. We didn't win. We didn't finish the game. We didn't execute. I think we found out we got a good football team. We got a tough, we got a football team. We got to learn how to finish. And that's ultimately what happened in the game. Battle for 2.5 quarters. And then they scored one with 17 seconds before the third quarter, and then we don't respond, and they go in and score again in the fourth quarter. And that's the game. That's really the game. And that we didn't finish. We got to be able to finish when it matters the most. And that's ultimately what cost us. So we got a lot to learn from this game. The beauty of this thing is, I just told the group in the locker room, we don't have to wait 245 days. We got 7 days for another opportunity. So we got to get back to work. I'll open up for questions.
All right, that's Coach Marcus Freeman talking about the win yesterday, the loss to Ohio State. So let's bring in the guy from real quick, George. Sum that up real quick. It's just basically he's not really happy with the loss.
Oh, he's not happy with the loss. The team was prepared. They played the game, and there was just times of they just didn't have finish. It goes back to our talk, Chris, at the beginning of training camp. We talked about tough practices and all this other stuff. You have to go in and be ready. Imagine if they didn't have tough practices, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What would have happened then? Because they didn't get blown out of the water. If anything, I think they exposed Ohio State.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
I think they've given a map or a blueprint of how to beat Ohio State, and that's slow roll them.
Hey, well, we might see this guy might say it this weekend in Columbus. The voice of the Red Wolves of Arkansas State, Matt Stolz with us. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey guys, how are y'all tonight?
Yeah, we're doing great. Just talking about Ohio State and Notre Dame last week, and George came up with a great point that Ohio State was exposed a little bit after that game.
Well, I think that Ohio State is still clearly one of the best teams in the country, and talent level right there at the very top of all of college football this year. And Arkansas State has their biggest test of the year for sure, and this matchup has been on the schedule for several years, and one that I know our fan base has been looking forward to. And anytime you take on a marquee program like this, it's something a program like Arkansas State is going to look forward to.
George, go ahead.
So, Matt, what does Arkansas State got to do to come out on the other side of this with a victory?
Well, it's an extremely tall order for Arkansas State. I mean, I think everybody, sees the point spreads and sees the talent level here, and you look at records from a year ago. But I will tell you this, I like this Arkansas State team a lot better in year 2 of Butch Jones' tenure at Arkansas State. And, you go back the last couple of years, and A-State has had losing seasons in 2020 and then again in 2021. But before that, this is an Arkansas State program that was right there near the top of the group of 5. They had 9 consecutive winning seasons, went to 9 straight bowl games, won 5 Sun Belt Conference championships during that time, and had some big name head coaches come through here. Hugh Freeze, Gus Malzahn, Brian Harsin, Blake Anderson have all been at Arkansas State. And now Butch Jones has come in, and he had to retool the roster to get it to where he wanted it, kind of put his culture in place. And you can look at that 2-10 record from a season ago, but that was a lot of growing pains that Arkansas State had to go through to try to get back to where they've been for most of the course of the last decade. So I think they took a big step in week 1. They had a very impressive win over Grambling State, won that game 58-3 in the opener. And it's one of the youngest teams in the country that you'll see. 79% of the Arkansas State roster is made up of either freshmen or sophomores, and that's the fourth highest percentage of underclassmen in the entire country. So, again, this is a very young team, but one thing Butch Jones has done is he's gone out and recruited very, very well. This is a coaching staff that recruits as hard as anybody I've ever seen come through here. And they turned in the number 1 recruiting class in the Sun Belt Conference this past offseason, the number 2 class in the entire group of 5. And they brought in some impressive transfers as well to try to compete right now. But I do think this team will be tremendously better than they were a season ago going forward. But obviously, this is a monumental challenge coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, I got to say, you got a former Florida State quarterback in Blackman. I was wondering where he went because I haven't seen. He wasn't at the ACC kickoff, and I'm like, okay, I guess he graduated or he went somewhere, and you guys have him. So what do you think about having Blackman, and what does he bring to your offense? Well,
he's a team leader, number 1, just a tremendous young man, and have really enjoyed getting to know him the last couple of years. And he came in before Butch Jones' first season a year ago. He was actually the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year, but he injured his shoulder 6 games in and had to miss the final 6 games of the regular season last year. And he worked extremely hard in the offseason to get to where he wanted to go. This is the first time in his 6 years of college football that he's had the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. He had a different offensive coordinator every year. He was at Florida State, and then he comes to Arkansas State last year. It was his first year with Keith Heckendorf, and now finally he gets to start a season and doesn't have to learn a whole new system and all new terminology. And he's really embraced the leadership role at Arkansas State. And I think that he's in line to have a very, very nice senior season.
Hey, George, go ahead.
I already went. You can go with Adam.
Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. You mentioned former Florida State quarterback James Blackman. So do you see Arkansas State, finding a way to compete in the in the top echelon of the Sun Belt Conference with teams like Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina. Do you see them?
Yeah, I think
up
that
there?
I think that they'll get back to that point again. They had that 9-year stretch where they had 9 winning seasons and 5 conference championships. But after the last couple of years, they need to catch up again with the Coastal Carolinas and Appalachian States and Louisiana Lafayette's. And I know you talked with my friend Dave Cohen not too long ago, the voice at Georgia State. I think Georgia State's one of the better teams in our league now. So, you look at this league, and I really think it's hands down the best conference in the group of 5 at this point. They've come light years in the last 4 or 5 seasons, and it's a really good, extremely competitive league. And you even look at the schools that just came in. Old Dominion, their first game as a member of the Sun Belt Conference this past week, they knock off Virginia Tech. So they are one of 4 new teams in our league. James Madison, Marshall, Southern Miss being the others. Southern Miss lost this past week, but it was in quadruple overtime to Liberty. And, James Madison absolutely beat the brakes off of Middle Tennessee in their first game as an FBS team. So there are some really, really good teams already in this league. And now we've added 4 more that I think make this league just that much better.
Well, man, I think with JMU, I think they're still trying. Yeah, that was their first game, and as not part of the CAA, but I saw that all last year. How they just at home they just dominate. That stadium in Harrisonburg, Virginia, is like a quiet little town, but on Saturday afternoon, it's like a dangerous place for a visiting team to play in. I don't know how.
And it's been amazing just watching these teams that have come in from the FCS level and make such a great transition to FBS. And we've seen it several times over the last 5, 6, 7 years in this league. We've seen Appalachian State do it almost seamlessly. Georgia Southern did it when they first came into the league. In fact, their first year in the Sun Belt Conference, they went 8-0. And you look at what Coastal Carolina is doing now. It's certainly not a stretch to think that James Madison can come in and do the same thing and compete for championships right away.
Yeah, that's true, and I agree with you. Yeah, it's a good thing to see these schools do really well when they leave. And now it's like we'll see if James Madison can continue that. And this week they're playing against Norfolk State, so that's they play them every other year. So that's a nice little win for them at home. But we'll see how they do on the road.
Yeah, they're actually going to come to Jonesboro. That'll be Arkansas State's first conference home game coming up October 1st. So we'll see James Madison in person sooner than later. But before that, Arkansas State's got 3 straight road games starting this week with Ohio State. Then they'll make the hour-long trip down the road across the Mississippi over to Memphis next week. And then they open up conference play at Old Dominion the week after that.
That's cool. Well, Matt, let me let you go because let's bring in Coach Bell here because he's going to be on real quick before we get Daniel Wilcox. But thanks for coming on tonight, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye. All right, let's bring in Coach Bell. Hey, Coach, sorry about that.
Yeah, how y'all doing? We had a bad link down here. We couldn't connect to y'all.
I love the technology sometimes. Yeah, the technology is so great. Right?
Well, I had to get somebody less younger than 30 years old to help me because I'm not very good at it.
Well, this week you're playing Georgia Tech. Did you get a chance to watch the game last night? And what did you see?
Yeah, we got a chance. Basically what we've had to be able to watch was last year, and then some Tulane stuff for the OC for our defensive coaches. But last night got to see them up close and personal for this year, and I tell you they're an improved football team from last year. That's for sure. They're a different football team, especially up front. The defensive line looks like they brought in some really good football players, and so it's going to be a big challenge for us.
Yeah, I was doing some research on you. You're a big guy down in Florida, the Gators. You're on that first number 26. They did some poll in 2006 about you're the 26th best player in Gator history. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great career, especially starting as a walk-on and not having an offer anywhere in the country. That's back in the 80s, and going there as an 8-string quarterback and thinking I may play my 4th or 5th year, and wound up playing my redshirt freshman year. Started 4 years there. So it was an unbelievable career, and I have a lot of great memories from the Gators, and then got a chance to play professionally for 13 years, and then got into coaching. So it's been a whirlwind of a tour, but I love coaching the game of football, and we're ready to do some special things here at Western Carolina.
That's cool. Let's bring in Adam because he's closer to. I think he lives. Adam, where are you? Where are you from the campus?
Oh, I'm about 45 minutes away from you, Coach. Here in
Okay.
Haywood County, one county away from you, over in Jackson County. So, first of all, congratulations on the win last Saturday against Charleston Southern. But talk to us about your preparations going down to Atlanta to play an ACC team in Georgia Tech.
Well, we feel good about the first game that we played, against who did we play?
Charleston Southern.
Charleston Southern. I've already got past them, but yeah, it was a great game. We were disappointed the way we sort of finished that game. We thought it could have been a 70-21 top score. It wound up being 52-38. We let them hang around, but quarterback had a really good day, and Carlos Davis, I think, had 6 touchdown passes, and so. It's going to be a different challenge though going down this week. I know Coach Collins; he's a fantastic football coach. He'll have those guys ready. The one positive we got them on a short week a little bit, so they played last night. So, but it's still going to be a big challenge for us. But we're going to go in there and give it our best shot. We're going to be aggressive the way we play. We're going to try to score points and hopefully we'll go in there and give ourselves the best chance that we can give us.
Go ahead, George.
So, Coach, first thing I gotta say is, what a great personality you have. You know what you're going up against, a tough opponent this weekend. You're all fired up, and you're doing it with a very young team. I was doing my research. You have a lot of incoming freshmen. You have some redshirt freshmen, and you have a couple seniors and some grad players. But it was a freshman this weekend that was a standout for you at running back, correct? Desmond Reed?
Yeah, he was one of the guys that sort of, last year we got here, we filled in some holes with some transfers, portal guys. Got here late, didn't even have spring ball, and then had our big offseason, our first offseason this year. Had a great recruiting year where we, they say we had the number 1 recruiting class in the SoCon, and 20-something of those guys are from South Florida or from the state of Florida, which is sort of my background, my backyard. And the one guy that pulled the trigger, the first guy was early in the fall, was Desmond Reed. And, he's so well known down in South Florida. When he committed, it really gave us a lot of momentum in that area. And we had also done really well there when I was at Valdosta State. We brought in a bunch of Florida kids. And in the next year, we won the national championship with a lot of them guys that are freshmen and sophomores and in 2018. So the coaches there really talked us up. They got those guys to commit. Desmond Reed, we think is going to, down there, the high school coaches say he's one of the best backs to come through there. They don't care if it's Power 5. They don't care if it's backs that went to Clemson or Georgia or wherever. He's one of the best they've ever seen in the last 8 to 10 years. So he's only 5'8", 170, but he is 4'3", legit, and he's a very physical guy. So he started sort of that line of guys coming in and committing to us, and we feel like if we can keep stacking those kind of classes, we have a chance to be pretty special here in FCS.
Adam, you have a follow-up?
Yeah. First of all, we need to find a way to get Chris and George down here to the mountains, right, Coach?
Do that?
I said we need to find a way to get Chris and George down here to the mountains of North Carolina for a Catamount game at Whitmore, over in Callaway. It is a beautiful part of the country. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's right. I tell you, I grew up in Florida.
Since you're a former Gator, how cool was it to play in the rivalry against Florida State?
Well, I tell you, back in the day, we played the tough schedule. Florida, we opened with Miami every year, and that was my first game starting in 1984 was against the Miami Hurricanes, defending national champion Miami Hurricanes. But then we always had Auburn and those guys in the middle of the schedule, and then Florida State was always at the end. So, Georgia's a huge rival for us. So it was great to play those rivalries. I love those big games and really enjoyed it. It's funny, different segments of the Gator Nation is, you know, if you lose to Florida State, well, that North Florida, West Florida, all that area is going to hate you. If you lose to Georgia, all the people in Jacksonville is going to hate you. And then if you lose to Miami, it's all the guys in South Florida is going to hate you. So it's a lot of pressure on you, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a great 4 years for me.
That's true. That's awesome. It's a great rivalry, and you're doing something special down there in Western Carolina to turn that program around. And hopefully you guys could beat Georgia Tech, because the last time you weren't there for that. They ran it out in Georgia. It was like 59-21. I was like, and it was already 21-0 after the first quarter. I'm like, oh my God, that must have been a long day.
Well, you know, I tell you what, you talk about fans here, you know, the great experience. I grew up in Florida, and that's great football. I coached in South Georgia at Valdosta State, they love the game of football. But coming up here, man, these people here in Western North Carolina love the game of football. There's so many great fans that I think we're one of the best FCS programs, you know, as far as attendance, and they've never won a conference championship here, which is amazing in 60-something years, 70-something years. And I tell our players all the time, it reminds me of me. I was at Florida, you know, in 1984, Florida never won an SEC championship. It's been 60-something years. And I remember coming back on the plane that night. We won the game in Kentucky, which gave us the SEC championship in '84. And getting on the buses and coming back to Gainesville and going to the stadium, I seen 60-year-old men crying because they'd never experienced a championship before. And that's what I want to bring to these people here. They are diehard Western Carolina Catamount fans. They want to bring a championship here. I think we could do that here. If we can keep stacking the kind of classes that we put together this year, we'll compete for the championship here in the near future.
Maybe we'll send George over there for a home game. George, you want to go over there? That's George. Adam, you want to go to a home game?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's
George
only
wants to go to a
45
home
minutes from my house. I do have connections there at Western. I mean, I have a friend in the marching band, so it's like I have a lot of friends who to have gone to college, and actually that's where my high school has their annual graduation ceremony in the Ramsey Center. So I've been on there on campus. It's a beautiful campus over there in Cullowhee, Coach.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Coach Bill, I know you're a busy guy. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Sorry about the confusion with the link and all that stuff, but thanks for coming on, and let's keep in touch, and we'll have you on later in the year.
All right, sounds good. And listen, we don't give it our best shot. They look really impressive, though. I tell you, to play Clemson the way they did early. Coach Collins got those guys heading in the right direction. It's going to be a big challenge for us, but we're gonna shoot every gun. We got 6 shots. We don't shoot all 6 of them. I guarantee that. We don't try to play our best and see what we can do and see if we can go get an upset.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, good luck this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Good luck, Coach. Go Catamounts.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you.
All right.
Bye. All right, it's Coach Kerwin Bell joining us here on the program. Former Florida Gator great, now trying to turn that program around up at Western Carolina to be something very special.
Chris, I love coaches like that.
Oh yeah, I love them too.
Absolutely love coaches like that.
Yeah.
He has faith in his team. It's one of those things. It can happen. Old Dominican, right? They beat Virginia Tech.
Hey, anything is possible on any given Saturday, George. Chris, you know that. I know that. So, if Western Carolina were to find a way to upset Georgia Tech, everyone here in the mountains of North Carolina would probably not sleep for a week.
Well, I know this guy used to play at Appalachian State, and let's talk to him real quick about that game last week against North Carolina. Was bringing in Daniel Wilcox. He probably was watching that, every 5 minutes. Hey, Daniel, how you doing?
Hey, Daniel.
I'm great, guys. How are you guys?
Were you watching that game last Saturday with the track meet up there in Boone?
That's exactly what it was, right? A track meet.
Yeah,
I actually got a chance to see the entire fourth quarter. I missed the first half of it. It was pretty exciting fourth quarter. Probably one of the most exciting fourth quarters I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's true. And so talk about this week for Appalachian State. They're playing. I think they're playing another Power 5 school. I can't remember who they're playing.
I think they're playing Texas A&M down in
Jimbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not scared to play anybody. I can tell you that much. App State is definitely going to show up and play no matter what. They've never played Texas A&M, and I don't think Texas A&M has ever played us either. So it'll be pretty interesting to kind of see how that one turns out. I mean, App State has been known for a long time to be the D1 killers. We're not afraid to play anybody. If you want to play us, we'll definitely play you.
Exactly. Well, we got you on this week, week one in the NFL. The Ravens are going up to New Jersey to play the Jets, and I heard yesterday the Jets might start Wilson at quarterback. Is that true, or they might go with Flacco? We don't know what they're doing up there in New Jersey.
From what I hear, they was actually supposed to be starting Flacco coming up
Yeah.
this week. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me trying to do interviews and stuff because of that. You know, I caught Joe Flacco's first touchdown pass as a Raven. So I've had a
Nice.
couple of I've had a couple of reporters and news media people reach out to me already in regards to just doing quick interviews. So it should be pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what happens.
I think it'll be pretty cool. You know, the Ravens playing against Joe Flacco, and they know what he does, and they know what he brings to a team. And it's almost like what he's saying, like the starting pitcher. You already, you've seen this pitcher. Like he was on your roster for 6 years. You already know what he brings to the table.
Absolutely. Joe Flacco is a freaking phenomenal football player. I mean, he's been playing around this league for a long time now. Lasted a lot longer than I thought he would. You never think guys are going to, make it past 10 years in this league. So when you do see a guy make it past 10 years, he's either done a really good job of playing ball or a really good job of fooling a bunch of people so he can steal some extra money. One or the other. So Flacco has been pretty consistent from day one in this league, man. I'm super proud of that young man and what he's had a chance to accomplish. My last year was his first year. I retired. I was going out when he was coming in, and I mean, here I am, 12, 13 years later after retirement, he's still playing.
Yeah. Let's talk about the young Joe Flacco. I saw him in college when he was up at Delaware, and he was just a quiet guy, did his work. He came from Pittsburgh, and then he got drafted by the Ravens at his 10th pick, the 10th pick in the NFL draft that year, and then he was not supposed to start. He was supposed to be on the bench because he had two other people ahead of him.
Three.
And then all of a sudden, one of them went down, and then here goes Flacco coming in. And I remember the time when he first started, everybody's going, "Oh, here comes a third-string quarterback. Who's this guy?"
Fourth string, Chris. Fourth string.
The fourth-string guy. And then and now he's like he brings the Super Bowl title to Baltimore, and now he's up in New Jersey.
Absolutely, I can remember him coming in as a true rookie in the NFL, and he had just actually lost the national championship at Delaware to App State. My alma mater, just in case you guys know, I'm App State. So that was our first conversation, because he had just finished playing against my boys. I was still mentoring a lot of those players at the time. So he had just finished playing App State in the national title and lost. And then came to Baltimore. I said, man, I hope you play better for us than you did for Delaware. So that was one of our first conversations, man. I told him I know it was hard playing against those boys, so they never quit, they never give up, man. And they got a lot of fight in them down at App State, down in Boone, North Kakalaki. And when Flacco came in, man, he was a gentle giant, really, really quiet, kind of soft spoken. Kind of reminded me a little bit of myself when I first came in the league, just really reserved and didn't really know what to expect. Like I don't think he had a lot of Delaware blue hands in the NFL when he walked through the doors of the NFL. When I got to the NFL, it wasn't a lot of Appalachian State Mountaineers in the NFL either. It was Matt Stevens and Dexter Coakley, I think was the only two at the time. And of course, Dexter Coakley is one of the all-time greats now. But when Flacco came in, Steve McNair was still our starting quarterback. So Steve decided he was going to retire that summer. When Steve decided he was going to retire coming off the shoulder surgery, Cal Bowler ended up hurting his shoulder, and then he decided he needed to go ahead and have season-ending surgery, and then Troy Smith caught a blood clot in his lungs, the Heisman Trophy winner from Ohio State, and then that left Flacco to as our fourth-string guy. So he had three guys that was potentially going to start for us that year, and they just kind of fell to the wayside literally before the season started that year. It was freaking. I've never seen anything happen quite like it. I had played, by the time Flacco came in the league, I was in year 8. I've never had 3 or 4 tight ends go out so I could be the starter, ever. Never happened for me once, So just to understand how extremely blessed, that young man was to be able to get the starting nod. And then he had a new head coach to come in with him with Harbaugh and also a new OC. I think Cam Cameron came in with him at the same time. So we were shifting over to Cam Cameron's offense. And I always tell people this all the time. I take my hats off to Cam Cameron because he allowed us, those veteran players that he had surrounding him, Mark Clayton, Derek Mason, Demetrius Williams, Todd Heap, Daniel Wilcox, Willis McGahee, LaRon McClain came in with him as a rookie. So did Ray Rice came in with Flacco as a rookie. and he allowed us to kind of take all that slack and all that heat off Flacco. And, so we basically took the playbook down and we shrunk it to a smaller playbook just for him to get him started. And then Cameron did a phenomenal job, and his staff did a phenomenal job of just watching his Delaware tape and saying, all right, this is what this kid is really strong at, really good at. Let's put in some stuff that he'll be really familiar with, and then get the ball out of his hands extremely quick. And that's exactly what he did. He got the ball to us quick. Every time we touched the ball, we tried to break tackles and make extra yards, get more plays for him, and, just set him up to be in a good situation. And the kid came and won 12 games that year. We went to the AFC Championship game and ended up losing to Pittsburgh, as a rookie, So, and he was poised, as the season went on, Chris, we just kept loading the playbook up, more and more stuff every single week. Every week the playbook would change. We put in a couple of trick plays for him every year. And it was just a phenomenal season for that young man to start his career off and to build confidence. Like I'm telling you right now, confidence is one of the most underrated things in the NFL when it comes to football, when it comes to any sport. If your confidence isn't at a super, super, super high level, you'll only be a fraction of who you really are as a player, and Cameron allowed him to just build that confidence slowly. By the time we got to the Super Bowl, I told everybody that kid was going to win the Super Bowl in Baltimore. I knew it. By year 4, I knew he was going to have a Super Bowl underneath his belt. And I'll be dang if he didn't win it year 4.
George, go ahead.
So, Daniel, first, thank you very much for the kind words a couple weeks ago when I had to leave the show for something that was going on with my father back in Connecticut. So thank you very much for that.
No problem, my brother.
So I want to talk about something funny really quick. They played it so well this past week with Poe going down in the mascot game. Does that show a side of coach that it's just, he can relax?
Are you talking about when Poe got hurt and Harbaugh got on camera and was kind of telling everybody like he don't know how we were going to make it through the rest of the season without Poe?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, like, that's a joke that Harbaugh would have done, 13 years ago. So that shows a lot of maturity in him. To be able to do something like that, to be able to kind of, have those play on words with the media, with the fans, and, to even give Poe some spotlight, because, that's one thing John Gruden would have never done in Tampa. He would have never gave anybody any spotlight. He wanted all the spotlight to himself. He wanted everybody to think he was a Chucky doll, so to see Harbaugh in, year 13, give Poe the spotlight and just put the spotlight on our magnificent, wonderful mascot like Poe. I mean, you got to take your hats off to Harbaugh. Harbaugh, hats off to you, my guy. Raven hats. Raven hats everywhere, everybody.
Yeah. I think it was really funny when they talk about Poe damaged his drumstick. He's out for the whole year. I'm like laughing.
I like the fact that he said drumstick. He could have easily said leg, right?
Yeah.
So I like the fact that he said drumsticks. That's my kid's favorite part of the bird.
Yeah,
my first comment, Daniel, to Chris was that they were going to put him on the pup list.
Yep, that's right.
He put a bird on a pup list, man.
The physically unable to perform list.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah. So let's talk about real before I let Adam talk to you. Let's talk about this Lamar Jackson thing. It's like he's not going to sign the contract. He's gambling, right? Is one of those gambling things like he's like Joe Flacco did, like his final season on his rookie deal. Let's play. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, and we'll see what next year brings.
If he plays this year without a contract signed, that's exactly what he'll be doing. He'll be gambling and everything. He could have one injury this year, blow out everything, and he'll never get the money that he deserves. So, I mean, if he holds out, I think that's really the only way to play it. At this point. But I pray this situation gets resolved extremely quick. Have they figured it out yet, Chris? They haven't said anything yet. Nothing, George.
Nothing. He's supposed to talk tomorrow. He's supposed to talk tomorrow to the media.
Well, I've been telling everybody they're going to get this handled because I know how important it is. This is important, and people got to understand. Like this is one of the biggest situations with playing in the NFL. Nothing's guaranteed for us at all. We put our lives on the line every single day. I mean, not just our joints and our bodies, our feet, our hands, our ankles, shoulders, necks, but our lives on the line every single day. You can go out there and take one hit and never get up again. Be paralyzed for the rest of your life. So, the guaranteed money situation like the NBA has, like the Major League Baseball, that's all you're asking for. Just give me guaranteed money like everybody else in pro sports. You know, hockey got it. You know, baseball got it. Basketball has it. Hell, tennis has it. Hell, even golf got it. Why we can't get it? You know, so, and our sport is the most dangerous one out there of them all. And I think in the position like Lamar is in, where he's a dual threat quarterback, where you know his legs is a huge part of his game. You know, he could easily go out there and blow a knee out and blow out his ACL, PCL, MCL all in one play, and that only takes a split second. And the whole offense is centered around his legs and his arm. So it's like, why not go ahead and pay the man? You know, I don't think there's anybody out there as dynamic as he is. You have to think about what he's done up until this point in the NFL, and he's still the youngest quarterback starting in the NFL at this moment. Like, just think about that. He's the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL. He's been in the league for like 4 years, and he's the youngest starting one ever. And I had to explain this to my son, my oldest son, Tristan. I was telling him, man, this kid is a kid that was smart enough in high school to graduate early. You know, he graduated, you know, as a junior in high school, so he goes off to college with early enrollment, right? So he leaves high school super early and young. Then he gets to college in his sophomore season, wins the Heisman, come back his junior year, true freshman, started as a true freshman, no red shirt now, comes back his junior year, and then goes to the NFL early. So he's in the NFL at least 2 years earlier than most people, 2 or 3 years earlier than most people. You know, so just to think about that, I mean, I just think if you don't pay him, I just think it sets the standard for the entire season, and you're telling all the players that no matter how good you are, you know, you're not that important in Baltimore. And usually Baltimore is not that type of team. I mean, when Flacco came around his time to get paid, they paid Flacco like crazy money. You know, I was like, dang, Joe, go ahead, man. Congratulations, your family's set for life, you know. Give that man that opportunity too as well, man. I say give him an opportunity to set his family up for life. And it's not that big of a deal on the baseball side of things. All they do is swing a bat and catch a ball, you know. So it's like if you can give those guys hundreds of millions, and it's not even as entertaining as football is. At least that's my opinion. Sorry, Baseball America, but that's my opinion. I think football is the most exciting sport in the world right now. Period. You know. So I think Lamar Jackson deserves every single penny. I don't care what the critics say. I don't care what the haters say. If you're good, you're gonna have haters. So Lamar has so many haters in this world. That's how you know how extra good this guy is.
Hey, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, talking about the game on Sunday against the Jets, can the Ravens cover the 6.5 points that they're favored?
Can they cover the spread?
Even, yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry.
Even though we don't know who the Jets quarterback is going to be, do you think they can cover?
I mean, to me, Baltimore have always been one. I could distinctly remember this. You know, my first couple of years in Baltimore, Ray Lewis coming to me saying, Willie, all y'all got to do is score 21 points. They're not going to score 21 on us. We're not going to give up 21 points a game. And that's the Baltimore standard. That's the Baltimore way. Now, this league is totally different from the league I played in. You know, it's an extreme passing league now, so you're meant to score 40 points. You know, but the Ravens will still always have that motto. You know, the defense job in Baltimore is to keep those guys under 21 points, and the offense job is to score more than that. The defense in Baltimore used to always score touchdowns too as well, and I think they're going to get back to that this year. I think you're going to see some defensive touchdowns a lot this season. You know, that's to me that's what we're missing last season. Besides all the injuries, it was just a bunch of guys just got hurt last year and couldn't play. You know, but I think this year, I don't think they'll have any problem, you know, covering a 6.5 point spread. I think the Ravens will go do exactly what they need to do to get the job done, and it should be way more than that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, pretty much. So Daniel, so with this game on week 1, you're okay there? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's okay. But just week 1, you're playing. You know, the Ravens are playing the first 4 games of the year against the AFC East. You know, so it's pretty interesting.
You said week 1 the Ravens are playing against the AFC East?
Yeah, you know, this first 4 games are playing in, you know, the Jets, Dolphins, and then Bills before they play their first AFC Central game.
Yeah, you got to love that, man. I like when we get a chance to play against the other sides of the AFC and stuff like that, the NFC and all that stuff, man. To me, that's what football needs. You know, you got to be able to play every single team and everybody wants to see us versus somebody else every now and then. But, going against the Jets and the Dolphins, man, it's definitely going to be fun. That's always a fun trip from Baltimore, too, when we get to go to Miami. My last game in Miami wasn't the best game I can remember. I remember we went down there and lost to like one of the sorriest teams in the league that year. I think it was 2007 or it might have been 8. We went down to Miami. No, it wasn't 8. It was 2006 or 7. We went down to Miami, and they was like the worst team in the league that year. No wins, and then they turned around and beat us down in Miami. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
George, you got a follow up?
So, Dan, I'm going to ask you this question. It's about your rival.
Okay. Pittsburgh.
The Steelers.
Nobody likes them.
How do they get a schedule where they don't leave the Eastern time zone?
Is that what their schedule is this year?
They do not leave the Eastern time zone this year in the schedule.
Really?
Well, you got to love Mike Tomlin, man. Hey, Mike, congratulations, my guy.
I couldn't believe this, and it's a big deal. I mean, you're playing
It's a huge deal,
and they're not leaving the Eastern time zone.
Hey, man, that's I guess. Hey, man, when you're Pittsburgh, and they probably go out to dinner quite often with Roger Goodell, and they just decided, hey, we're gonna hook you guys up this year. You guys ain't got to get on no big planes, go nowhere, long distance trips. We want to keep you guys fresh because we want the Steelers to get back to Steeler form this year. So this is what we're gonna do for you guys. You're gonna keep all your games on the East Coast this year, and just make sure you guys are in great shape, for the rest of the season. Everybody that comes to you, we're gonna make sure they have long flights, and everywhere you go, you got very short flights, guys. And Mike Tomlin, you can get that tan you wanted.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's like they have the Raiders coming to their town, for Christmas Eve. I'm like, okay, you don't go to Vegas. Okay, forget that idea. And then you got Tom Brady coming here. I don't know why that Tom Brady game against the Buccaneers is a 1:00 game. That should be like a 4:15 game because that's Brady against the Steelers. You always have Brady's and the Steelers play each other at 4:15. Yeah, I look at it. It's fascinating. They don't even leave until come on, man.
Way to get him, Mike. Nice job. Mike deserved that. Mike, I was on the Super Bowl team with Mike down in Tampa in the 02-03 season. So, I got a lot of love and respect for Mike Tomlin, man. Mike deserved to have a East Coast season this year, man. Go ahead, Mike. Congratulations, my guy.
I think they're sending Roger Goodell Permane brothers.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's bring in Marvin Jones, former Florida State great and former Jet guy.
New York Jet.
So, hey, Coach Jones. Hey, Marvin, how you doing?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Okay, thanks for
Marvin,
coming on.
what's up, big dog?
What's up, old teammate from 30 years ago? You still look the same.
Hey, man, you still got it, my G. This is one of the hardest hitting men I ever played with in my entire life. I was so happy I got to go to practice with him every day and I ain't have to play against him all the time.
Hey, don't worry, man. Everybody's still alive. So
that's it. Congratulations on the win, Marvin.
I appreciate you.
Hey, Marvin, except for the guy from Miami when you clobbered him across the field, I don't think he did. He come back up, the one that hit the in the Orange Bowl. I have the clip real quick of it. Yeah,
he's still around. He just figured out where he is now. He's doing good.
Yeah. So let's talk about your time, playing in New York, with the Jets. I know the Jets are not, the Jets are still trying to find that quarterback. They're still trying to find a replacement for Joe Namath. That's 30 years ago. So
30
plus 30 plus. That's 19.
Maybe 40 years.
It's been a long time. It's like they're still trying to find him.
69, I think.
I was going to say it's like 43,
Broadway Joe played a long time ago.
Yeah,
long time ago. Marvin was a young guy in the heyday with a head full of hair.
I wasn't even born.
You weren't even born.
I wasn't born, and I'm 50. You talking about 1969, man? I was born in 72.
Was that his last season, Marvin? 69?
No, I think it was somewhere to 74 or 75.
But then he ended
I think it was 75. I think it was.
I wasn't born yet. Yeah, Marvin was born when he retired. Marvin was born, but I wasn't born yet.
Well, it was a hell of a long time ago.
It was, man. Yeah. Hey, Marvin, congratulations, man, on all your coaching endeavors, man. You've done a phenomenal job coaching, bro. I follow you all the time. I'm always sending my heart emojis and stuff to you, man. But love you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you did for me when I was with the Jets. And Marvin was one of the guys that broke me in. Him and that big ass linebacker core they had in New York. Him, Mo Lewis, and Sam Coward. Those guys was freaking phenomenal guys, man. A little guy from App State coming in, running all over the place, and you got to play against some of the biggest and best linebackers in the entire league, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Real talk.
All right, man. Yeah, man. We had to break y'all in back in. We was allowed to do that back then. Now you was. But at that time, it was very competitive. Everybody, you had some of the best guys at the best positions. I think now, you look at football now, you have some of the, you don't have as many, I would say, as a whole, 11 guys like on defense where everybody's just at that high level.
Right.
There's some drop off in some of the positions, but back then, man, our linebacker core was off the chain, man.
Loaded.
Off the chain.
Loaded, man. You down there with another one of my buddies too, man. I'm gonna let Chris take back over this interview, man. I'm just so happy to see you, man. Seeing you so long. But you're down there with another one of my buddy, man. Corey Fuller. He played with me in Baltimore too as well. MC Fooya. That's what we call Corey.
Yeah. We called him Skeletor at the time. I mean, the guy had muscles in every inch of his body.
Every inch of his body, boy.
This is fun. I enjoy having you guys on. This is great.
Chris, just let them go. We'll just
sit back. You guys have the show.
He's back in Tallahassee working with Florida State. So, I mean, that's an awesome thing. I mean, he's a hometown guy. Always been a long-time fan of those. Got an opportunity, obviously, to play there.
Yeah.
Be a solid player. So, it's a great feeling for him to be back there. I mean, he's enjoying it, man. You can watch Instagram and everything. He's posting every picture he can. So,
well, I think Florida State dropped the ball by not hiring Dion, right? So they're trying to make up with it by going to get all the other greats they can go out and grab. Marvin was a head coach that did phenomenal as a head coach, and then Fuller was a head coach in high school down in Florida, and he did phenomenal as a head coach down there as well. So they went out and go get the best head coaches that they could find and put them on their staff at skill positions.
Well, I'll say one of the things, I did 3 years of high school a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, but the parents are crazy.
Yeah.
But I've been in the pro arena area for the last going into 7 years. So I've had some bad experience, but the last team I was with, I was the first coach to win the championship in the 22-year history, and I went back-to-back this year. We, came up 4 points short. Now, to get to your other point, when it comes to Florida State, I mean, one thing I do believe in is that I am I'm what they call, even with my son, as legacy players. So I had a brother that played there, a nephew that played there, myself, and then my son. Now, I would never go back there and be a head coach because you can destroy your legacy. People are never going to separate your coaches from your ability to play there. Even like Dion, he was considered one of the greatest football players of FSU history. But if you coach there and you fail, man, they ain't going to separate it. They're going to run you out of there the same way. So let your legacy stay where it is and you go somewhere else. That's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.
Preach.
That's a great point, Marvin.
I think Joe Gibbs should have done that. You well in the first time around. You don't come back the second time around. You just leave your legacy alone and go somewhere else and don't come back to Washington. But he did that and ruined his whole career because I'm like, okay, which one do you like, the first one or the second one? Yeah.
Well, we got to realize, especially now. I mean, the landscape has changed so much. Especially during my time, nobody left the state of Florida because all three teams were in the top 10: Florida State, and Miami every year. It's a different thing now. I mean, any good team that you can find, they have at least a few players from Florida on their team. So
absolutely,
we're spread out, but. I think what happened to Florida State is what happened to most colleges. And I say it's a prime example what happened even with Miami Hurricanes. You win. You don't do anything different. You don't put any of the money back into the programs like you should. You think that because we won, you think that that's how it's going to be all the time. Instead of preparing for the future 4 or 5 years ahead of the time, like you can't tell me Miami won all those championships and and their facilities still look the same until they made those changes a couple years ago. So, nobody, it's almost like a playing career. For some reason, we never think it's going to end.
Right.
And that's what happened, even to Florida State. I mean, you're still playing catch up. I mean, I go out to University of Georgia, man. It's like, you go out to Texas A&M, you're like, they just did a $250 million extension. $250 million buys most people's stadium. Exactly. That was just for a football-only facility. So it's the schools that prepare for 5 years down the road, 10 years for down the road, that'll keep sustaining that. And Miami, Florida State, kind of fell into that. I mean, so you got to keep up with the times, but I also believe if you have people that's been there during the success, you try to keep them there. I don't care if it's academic advisors, presidents, anybody that's athletic directors, because not everybody comes from a winning program. Not everybody understands what it takes to have an attitude to win. That's why, any job I take as a coach, I get rid of everybody. I get rid of the secretaries. I want to get the security guard, the parking lot attendant, anybody that have a negative attitude, they got to go.
They got to go.
Yeah.
Well said, Marvin.
You imagine walking in through the building, the security guard gives you a sorry, good morning. Come on, man, don't start my day like that. When I come in there through that, good morning. All right, let's go. Let's get to work. You understand?
The man commands the room.
Sorry, I want to be excited from the time I walk through the door because I want to come to work. I want to have a great attitude, and when I show up at work, you know what I mean? It's like going to get your order wrong. Your whole day is going to be ruined until you get to work.
Yep, energy is everything.
And that's one of the things. It's gonna get even worse now because think about it. High school coaches are gonna catch hell because every parent wants their kid to get NIL money. You imagine
what you guys back on for next week. We should have another segment next week. Every week we should have a segment with you guys. We should do this. This would be fun. All of us just talk about a segment in the world of football and everything else.
They need a 30-minute window, Chris. 30-minute window.
Yeah, we're gonna make a 30-minute window next week. We can do that.
Hey man, you can't bring me and Marvin on at the same time.
We need our time.
Come on, man.
15 minutes each.
This man let me drive the first Hummer I ever drove in my life. Marvin had a Hummer so nice, man. Who was in New York. Let me drive that thing around Long Island, but I almost fell in love with that thing. I'm telling you right now, Marvin, if it was cheaper on gas, Marvin, you wouldn't have got it back.
Man, that thing is a tank, man. Hell, I had to sell one of my kids to get gas for that thing.
Okay. I told Marvin when I brought it back to him, Chris, I told Marvin, I said, hey man, this is the first truck I've ever driven where I actually see the gas hand do this while you drive it.
Yeah. There's a little man in there that sucks the gas out.
Marvin bought the mid-air refuel package.
Exactly.
Well, that's an additional cost.
Yeah. Let me get you. Hey, Marvin, are you available next Tuesday?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I got a trip. I gotta go. Yeah, I probably can be, but I'll be on Central Time, so I got.
Okay, we'd love to have you on to talk about Florida State, Louisville, and we'll have Daniel on. And we'll talk Ravens, Dolphins. Yeah, so that'll be good. How about that?
Yeah, awesome, man. I thought we was going to talk about the Jets, man. We ran out of time.
We was,
man.
Talk
about the Jets. What you enjoyed playing in? It really is in Jersey. Not really Long Island. It's actually in the Meadowlands.
Jets need their own stadium.
Yeah, they need their own stadium. Yeah.
No, I think that curse with Joe Namath is real.
Yeah, it is real. It is real.
I can tell you this, and then I'm going to let you guys go.
Yeah.
I can remember back in 1998. We had to go out to the AFC Championship. And when we came out the facility gate, there was an old guy sitting out there with a sign that says, please win the Super Bowl before I die. And I yelled out the window to him. I said, guess what? You're going to die. Oh,
my God. That's awesome. Well, we're going to end it on that note. That would be next.
You're going to die.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you.
Hey, at least I was All right.
So good. This has been so good. We'll see you next Tuesday, okay?
All right, man. God bless Daddy. Hey, see you guys, man.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Good luck the rest of the season,
All
bro.
right,
All right, man. Be easy.
See you. Bye.
Gonna die.
Oh my God, that's what. See you, Daniel. See you next Tuesday. All right.
All right, guys. You guys be safe.
See you, man.
All right, guys.
See you. Oh my God, that was so funny. You're going to die.
Oh,
anyway.
Chris, thanks for tonight. Thanks for tonight.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's bring in Mike. We got Mike Gross, who covers the Penn State. Yeah, I know Lancaster Barnstormers are going to the postseason. I know that. So,
Well,
hey,
it looks
Mike.
like they are. Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
they
they
are. Kid, I'll tell you, they have done an amazing job of.
I was really
And
impressed.
injuries, and player having to make player moves, and they've done an amazing job. I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but yeah, they have done an amazing job, and it looks like they're going to make the playoffs now. Yeah.
That was fun having Marvin Jones on. And
Yeah, you could have kept going with those guys. I would have said, come back in a half an hour.
We have to get Mike on. Mike's sitting there.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
All right. Penn State this week taking on Ohio. I will be definitely making the trip up there to see you guys because I got the car filled up with gas and ready to roll. And I actually got my pass right here, so we're all set to go.
Nice.
Yes. So big win last week at Purdue. They had to come behind to win the ball game. Clifford, got the co-player of the week in the Big Ten. So what do you see this week against Ohio, who basically beat them one time there at Beaver Stadium? What 2016?
Yeah, that was during the Bill O'Brien era when they really were the Sandusky sanctions were really a big deal at that point. And even that year, Penn State played really well. Late in the year, they won 8 out of their last 10. They won at Wisconsin, etc. But early in the year, they were struggling to figure things out, and Ohio beat them. I think this is a little bit different matchup this Saturday.
Exactly. Hey, George, go ahead.
So, Mike, what's got to be done differently to play such a game of where, they're playing such a tight game, but something that they can do to step on the accelerator and just go?
Well, what I get tired of telling people this. It's running the ball. The offensive line's got to get better. They got to run the ball. They got to run the ball straight ahead. They got to run the ball in run situations, and they committed to it. I thought early in the Purdue game, and then they got behind and ended up throwing it a lot. Those were two teams that were similar in the sense that they really didn't want to run the ball when the game was on the line. They wanted to throw it all over the place. Purdue threw it all over the place when they had the lead and the ball late, which was weird. Although I think some of that was, this is just how we play and we're going to play that way. And Penn State was formationally kind of begging them. They were loading up the box and daring them to throw it. And, that coach, Jeff Brom, he has so much confidence in their ability to throw it. But ultimately, they threw it 60 times, and their quarterback only completed 50%, 30 for 60 for less than 6 yards per attempt. So you have to say that I think Penn State's defense kind of won that matchup, even though it was such a wide open, aerial game that it may not have looked that way. It turned out that way. And, Penn State was lucky to win, but they would have been unlucky to lose. It was one of those goofy games,
Hey, Adam, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on the victory last week against Purdue. First win of the year and its first conference win of the year. So, even though it's a non-conference game on Saturday against Ohio, how can Penn State bring that momentum with them in the home opener?
They're for sure they're going to play a lot of people. They, especially on defense, they played a ton of people on Thursday night against Purdue. They're going to play a lot of people, give a lot of, maybe figure out where they are with certain personnel situations. At safety, they're still figuring it out. Linebacker unit level, they're still figuring that out a little bit, even though last week they were 4-2-5 most of the time instead of 4-3 because of the way Purdue plays. I think this will be a little bit more of a straightforward game, although Ohio put 41 on the board last week, and their quarterback threw for 4 touchdowns. So it might be a little bit of the same. Again, you're trying to they have all these good skill position weapons, and a lot of them are really young kids. So give them an opportunity to make some plays and make some things happen.
Here's a little Ohio footage from last week. Not bad. Playing against
Florida Atlantic, and they won 41-38. And their offensive numbers were very good. I mean, they're expected to be sort of middle of the pack within their conference. In a couple of weeks, Penn State plays Central Michigan, which is a little more highly regarded from the same league, and picked to win or maybe co-win their division in that league. And they played at Oklahoma State last week and put 44 on the board. They lost that game, but so that was an eye opener. I was expecting that to be a little bit more of a legitimate test for Penn State. And of course, they will be coming off in between. They have Auburn on the road, which I'm not sure what Auburn is, to be honest with you. Auburn is a bit of a mystery because of some of the weirdness that happened with that program last year. Fired the AD. The coach was kind of hanging on by a thread at one point. I don't know how they're going to be. But Ohio, I expect it to be just kind of a work session for Penn State.
Yeah, and like you said about Auburn, you don't know who's playing, for Auburn because Bo Nix is on Oregon right now. So that's pretty funny that he transferred to Oregon.
Bo got his ass kicked on the other day.
Yeah, national TV.
What a way to open up as a quarterback in Eugene, going down to Atlanta and getting your, against Georgia.
Yeah, I mean that surprised me how. Yeah, it surprised me how dominant Georgia was. I was really impressed because, they had 15 guys drafted last year. They had 7 guys under that starting defense who I think went in the first 3 rounds or something like that. Unbelievable talent. So you thought, and their quarterback sort of seems like a game manager type guy, not a super athletic guy, not a big guy, but he played phenomenal in this game this past week. He was tremendous. So I guess Georgia is top 3 at least until we gather more information.
Yeah. Well, last week Auburn played Mercer, at 42-16, and they got a couple votes in the coaches poll. I'm like, okay, you played Mercer. Why do you get votes?
Well, Auburn's a brand name, a little bit of a brand name, and the coaches poll I think goes a little bit more for brand names than the writers poll does, and frankly, the wire service polls, who cares? They don't mean anything.
Exactly.
Mike, can I tell you something honest? The College Football Playoff Committee should be in it the whole season versus coming in halfway through November. I just look at it as if you're going to do the rankings for these teams come November, I think that you got to be the unilateral voice from the time the season starts.
Really? I don't have a problem. I disagree. I don't have a problem with that. I think they allow the dust to settle a little bit. I think a problem in the past before the committee was that your position in the preseason poll you kind of held on to that position unless you got beat. I thought that was a big flaw of the previous whatever system. Theoretically, they should be monitoring every week of the season. I mean, I hope they are. And I think they are. I got to be honest with you. When they came up with this committee, when they came up with the idea for this committee, I was very dubious. And when I found out who the people were on the committee, I was even more dubious. They've done a much better job than I expected them to. In my opinion, they've done a much better job than I expected it to. They've been more analytics based. They've been more willing to be untraditional about it and just figure out who the 4 best teams are. I mean, I'm okay with expansion, but I think they've certainly done better than I expected them to.
Well, you're having 12 teams in this new expansion in 2026 when everybody's new contracts.
They're saying it's ill-defined. They're saying it could be as early as 2024. I don't know what that means. Figure, when does it start? Come on, guys. I mean, but yeah, you're right. You got it.
Yeah, but I feel like, okay, George and I were talking about this afternoon. What bowl games are going to be used for the college football playoff? Are they going to go with traditional, like you already have the ones that we know, Orange Bowl, Fiesta, the Peach Bowl, Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think they figured that out yet. I mean, the first round games are going to be on campus.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's going to be 4 seeds. There are going to be 4 top seeds. 1, 2, 3, 4 top seeds. And then 5 through 12 are going to play each other at the higher seeds on campus home stadium.
Okay. So, Mike, Chris and I basically said to that, what you're doing is you're playing a play-in game like you do in the NCAA basketball tournament.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
It's ridiculous.
Except that half the field is doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, really, more than half the field is doing it. That's right. That's true. I would prefer 8 teams. I think 16 would be too many. If 12 is a way station on the way to 16, then I hate it. Because I think when you get to 16, you're taking away the week in, week out impact of the regular season, which is the best thing about this sport and the unique thing about this sport among all American team sports. It sets college football apart. When you go to 16, you take that away a little bit. So I hope that's not the case. I'm okay. I don't have a problem with 4, but I think I would prefer 8. 12 is better than 16. It's not as good as 8. It's better than 16 is the way I see it. And I hope it's not, because you know how things tend to endlessly expand.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I hope we're not on the way.
There's always going to be someone that's butthurt that they didn't get selected.
That's right.
And now you're opening discussion. Sure. If 12 doesn't work, now you're talking 24. And now you might as well just have a round robin season.
That would be awful.
An elimination thing, and that's even worse.
And you're right. If you have 12, then 13 is going to be mad. That's the way. Or anybody who thinks they're 13 is going to be mad. But who cares if people are mad? I mean, so what? It's kind of okay for people to be mad. It's fun to be arguing about this and passionate about it. That's how I see it, anyway. But anyway, I would rather have 8 than 12. 16 would be bad. 24.
I don't even know where you start at 24.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Mike. Well, I hope to see you Saturday morning. I'll be up there, and hopefully,
I'll be there Saturday morning. I hope it isn't one of those nightmarish drives up there, as it sometimes is for a noon kickoff.
Yeah.
An Illinois game last year. That was one of the worst days of my career.
Oh, jeez.
It took 4 hours to get up there and then watch the worst game in the history of sports. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a home opener, and I'm looking forward to going to Auburn. I've never been to Auburn, so that'll be fun.
Nice.
Eat you some Alabama barbecue while you're down there, Mike.
Yeah, I was talking the other day to a guy who is an Auburn fan and a dad of an Auburn student, and that's exactly what they said. They said they're going to send me some barbecue recommendations, so I'm fired up for that because I know my homies will love that. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting underway with the weekly grind. This time of year, I'm always ready for some football and ready to write about it. Ready to write about this team. It's going to be an interesting season. We're going to have 3 months of quarterback controversy for one thing, and who knows what we're going to have if they couple of losses early here, and we're going to hear an awful lot of 10 years, $75 million for this. Are you kidding me?
Hey, we're already hearing that here in South Bend.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Don't get me going on that.
Poor guy's 0-2. He doesn't have a win yet as a head coach.
Yeah.
But I thought they played well. I thought the Irish played well.
Yeah.
I thought they played pretty well. Not so they didn't play well offensively in the second half, obviously.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether that was because of Ohio State's defense. But I thought defensively they were really good, especially the first half.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Mike, I'll see you Saturday morning. Thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Safe travels.
Safe travels. And I'll try to get up there a little bit earlier so I don't get stuck in that traffic.
Yeah, pace yourself.
I will.
See you, fellas.
All right, see you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, that's our good friend Mike.
I love
Rose.
Mike.
I like Mike. Yeah.
He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
Well, one big game's going to be playing this week that we're going to cover real quick here. It's Alabama taking on Texas. That's a big game coming up this weekend, in college football. And if you want to go to my Twitter page, you can vote who's going to win. Who do you think is going to win that game between Alabama and Texas? Go right now to the Herbert Time Twitter page and vote now. And I'd like to see. Tomorrow I'll give you guys the results tomorrow. So that'll be fun. So let's bring in Nick, who covers the Texas Longhorns. So, hey, Nick, how you doing?
I'm great. How you fellas doing tonight?
Not bad. How's life down in Texas?
It's good, man. It's we're not 100 degrees every day anymore now, so it's kind of pleasant actually. I think Saturday is probably going to be around like 95, 96, which honestly is nice because we thought it was going to be like 110. I mean, it was a brutal summer, so it's actually going to be kind of nice. I'm excited about it.
It's a cooling trend.
Yeah, literally. I know. I'm from like New Jersey, so this sounds insane to everybody that I talk to back home. But I'm like, oh yeah, it's only like 95 days. It's gorgeous out.
Only 95. Yeah, it's
only 95.
Yeah, it's like you're in Arizona. It's only a dry heat. It's okay.
Yeah. I wish this was a dry heat. This is nasty stuff.
So let's talk about Texas. It's the Nick Saban versus Steve Kerr. It's a shark. It's his old offensive coordinator. So it's going to be really funny to see how they play against each other.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Heading into this, I think Saban's 25-2 against his former assistants, and both of those losses came last year to Kirby and Jimbo. So is Sark going to make it 25-3? I think that would be a stunner for everyone. Texas opens up this one as 20-point underdogs. It was kind of hard to gauge really where they're at in their opener against Louisiana Monroe, obviously an overmatched team, but I think it was a good kind of get your feet wet game for a lot of their young kids. I mean, they're starting, 8 first-time starters, a lot of true freshmen. You have 2 true freshmen on the offensive line. Another sophomore was a first-time starter because they lost one of their most experienced guy, Junior Anguilao. They lost him in the preseason. And they also lost Isaiah Nayer to an ACL tear, who they brought in from Wyoming, who I thought was going to have a really big season for them. So they lost a couple weapons, and they're kind of trying to figure out where the pieces fit right now. Quinn, I think it was a pretty good debut for him. His first pass was almost an interception. His second pass was an interception. And I think that was good. Sark said, hey, I didn't want him to throw a pick on his second career pass, but he, there's a little bit of adversity, which you didn't really think you were going to get in that game. Just something to kind of, see how he reacted in the moment. And I thought he responded well. He finished with 225 yards, couple touchdowns. He's got to work on the deep ball. That was one of the big things that they're going to need this week, talking about he missed a couple connections with Xavier Worthy. That's going to be, Xavier's going to have a big game if they're going to stick with Alabama. But his connection with Jatavian Sanders, who's their sophomore tight end, who they signed the last 5-star of Tom Herman's recruiting classes, they look like they have a really good connection. I think JT Sanders is probably that breakout star for them on offense. And then you have some guys on defense that are trying to figure out where they fit. You have sophomore, Barron Sorrell, who looked really good coming off the edge. Now, how is he going to do against Alabama's offensive line? It's a little bit different than going up against the Warhawks. But, I think there was some progress that looked pretty encouraging, especially because they had one of the worst defenses in the nation last year and one of the worst in the history of the program. So this is going to be a big test for Pete Kwiatkowski, their DC, and just this young defense, just to kind of see, where they at this early in the season with pretty tough schedule coming up, because you got UTSA next week, and you can't really sleep on that game too. I mean, you could definitely be looking at a 1-2 start non-conference. So
that's true. George, go ahead.
So I'm still having nightmares from the time that Notre Dame played Texas. I shake, and when I was watching the game the other night, I'm like, please, just not another game like that Texas game. That was just nightmarish. Where does this team stand? What can they do that they come out ahead in this game with a victory?
Oh man, well they're going to need to pretty much be perfect, I think, and they're going to need Saban to be probably uncharacteristically imperfect, I should say. But look, if Texas is going to compete in this game, they're going to need to figure out a way to get Bijan Robinson the ball and get him in space. Now Bijan's, we all know what a talent he is. He was one of the best running backs in the nation last year, but he averaged only like 1.5 yards before contact. So he was basically making plays. He was getting hit really early on. Now, if you're doing that against Alabama, those guys are probably going to drag you down. It's a different level of tackling. If Will Anderson hits you after a yard or two, even though Bijan is who he is, he's probably going to drag him down. So I think it's going to be the biggest test, obviously, this young offensive line. You have Calvin Banks, true freshman, starting at left tackle. You have Cole Hudson, true freshman, starting at right guard. You have Hayden Connor, first-time starter, sophomore at left guard. It's a lot of inexperience on that line, and I know Alabama's I think Saban said they're kind of rotating 7 or 8 guys in there, but all those guys are blue-chip recruits. 3 of them were starters last year. And if Texas is going to have if they can't figure out a way to get any push, we could definitely be looking at what happened last year to them in Arkansas when they went in and they were just dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Now, obviously, they brought some guys in. They made some improvements. Like I said, you have Barron Sorrell, who's looked really good off the edge. You have Byron Murphy. You have a couple of fifth-year seniors, and Keandre Coburn and Tavondre Sweat on the inside. Guys that didn't make much of an impact this year, but look a little bit better this year, both physically and in terms of where they're at mentally. Are they good enough to beat Alabama? I don't think so. But honestly, Sark has been really measured in his comments this week. I think he expects his team to play well, but I think he was going to be honest. I don't think he expects them to win. But he wants to see these kids make progress. He wants to see Quinn Ewers figure out that connection with Xavier Worthy. He wants to see him be able to go through his progressions and make his reads, which he struggled with in the first half against ULM, and he started to figure it out in the second quarter. Seems like a guy who's a quick learner. He's going to have to be a really quick learner against Bama, especially if they're beating that offensive line. But I think the key here is going to be, how does that offensive line, especially those 3 first-time starters, how do they stack up against Bama? Can they stop Will Anderson? Can they give Quinn Ewers 2 seconds, 3 seconds, just enough time to get the ball out, because he can sling it. It's not a matter of if he can make the throw. It's a matter of if he can put it where it needs to be.
That's true. Well, Nick, it sounds like going to be a great game Saturday. I wish this game was not 12 noon. I wish it was like a primetime game. I think it probably would have been better for people to tune in more.
That's what we all were kind of thinking too. We were all a little bummed when they put out that 11 a.m. time, especially because when they released it, it was like midsummer. We were in the middle of that like historic heat record, and everybody was like, "This is going to be a bad time."
Yeah, exactly. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, and thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, you guys too. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. See ya.
Thanks, Nick. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's Nick Moyle, who covers the Texas Longhorns for the beat writer. So what a great show tonight. We've had a great time. Comedy, yeah. Laughter. Got butchering somebody's last name.
You're gonna die.
I got old, I was trying to do the segue and I just butchered it. And I was like, I knew, like, and he was like, he looked like he was he looked like he was in a prison lined up, It was like, like, really? But that's all right. Things happen. But before we go, George, do you remember, where were you in 1995 on this date?
1995, I was in Connecticut.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know where you're going, Chris.
Yep.
Yep.
So Cal's, Cal breaking Luke Gehrig's record tonight. Back 1995.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember we had local radio here, and they were trying to give away free tickets, and it was like, caller 5, you get a free ticket for the 2130, and we're like, we won 2131. And I remember like my brother was trying to use like the speed dial. But so
that'll never happen again, Chris.
Nope. Not in this day of baseball. No.
Nope.
Look at, and plus it's not going to be ever packed like that in Camden Yards ever again.
True.
Yeah.
True.
It's funny. Camden Yards was like that hot ticket when it first opened up. Like everybody wanted to go to. Now it's like we're watching. Nicole and I were watching the doubleheader yesterday against the Blue Jays, and it was like literally nobody there.
Chris, the problem is that you have these owners not spending money.
Right.
True.
In
That's
order
a good
to get fans into the seats, it's a business model. You need to spend money.
Spend the money, people. Spend money.
Look at the Pirates. Same thing with the Pirates up the road.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're actually beating my Mets right now because it's pretty sad.
Now, Chris, you do realize that the Atlanta Braves are only one game behind the Mets right now?
Yes, yes, Adam, and I know it. Also, it's still still we have the whole month of September. So
Yes, Chris. I know.
So I hope I don't have a fall. I have a collapse like I had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but the Braves are on the West Coast against the Oakland Athletics for I believe it's a 2-game series. So
sorry, this was a little long here. So there we go. So Cal, breaking Lou Gehrig's record. That's a cool thing. Next week on the program, we are back here at 7:00. We'll talk Nebraska and Oklahoma because I got Bob Newton to join us. Plus, we'll get the Wilcox and Jones show back on the program. That was fun.
Yes. That was good stuff, Chris.
I know that was good TV, and I didn't want to end it. I was afraid of ending it. I'm like, I got people lined up on the line, and I'm like, I don't need to do this, because it was so good to have them talking. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Chris, our good friend AJ Johnson from the PBA tour just celebrated a birthday, so happy belated birthday from all of us to AJ Johnson from the PBA tour.
That's cool. Yeah, we had him on the show back in July when you were up in Portland.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Next Tuesday. So anyway, so folks, we'll see you next week here at 7:00. We'll preview that Oklahoma Nebraska game. Plus, we'll recap the Ohio State and Penn State game, the Ohio Penn State game, where I'm going to this weekend, and we'll talk about other great stuff as well. So in the meantime, here's the next week. I'll bring out my closing music, and you have yourself a great. Hold on, I got the wrong video. Hold on a second. I'm looking for a video. So,
looking for a video. Hold on.
Hold on. Please hold.
Looking for a video. Hold on.
Hold on. Hold on.
Not here.
Okay. What is this? Donkin thing. So anyway, hold on. I'm trying to find it. Please hold.
I won't sing Oklahoma. I promise.
Yeah, I know. Hey, sing Oklahoma. Go ahead.
No.
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 No. I can't find it. Where the heck did it go? Hold on. I was trying to give you the coolest closer music in the world, and George probably knows. Oh, there it is. Something next to that. All right.
You getting someone playing a horn?
I love it. Yeah. So
when you're the host of the show, you can do what you want.
Exactly. And when I come on your program, you do what you want. Right? Where is this? Where did it go? Anyway,
they brought a guy out to play while he came out, right?
Yeah, I copied it real quick and put it in, and I'm trying to find it in my folder here, and it's like, where the heck did it go? Anyway, we'll talk about it next week.
Hold on, because we'll see if we can find it for you really quick. We'll make you feel good.
Yeah.
Timmy Trumpet, right?
Yeah. I had it here. What the hell was it? Folks are like, probably one person's on going, what the heck is going on here? Yeah, the guy who's running the engineer can't do his job. You know what I mean?
Stand by.
Oh, I got it.
Right.
I'll turn up my.
No. We'll put the video on.
All right.
Come on.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it, Chris. I can hear it.
See you all next week. Bye-bye now.
See y'all next Tuesday. Enjoy college football.
Yes,
and
sir.
NFL season.